uninformed voter will associate Hillary Clinton with Benghazi and with emails, and they'll associate Trump with like being an outsider. People don't really pay attention to politics. That's the extent of their knowledge. So in terms of what I'd tell an uninformed voter about Hillary Clinton is that her policy, like her stance, is so much more important than historically what happened. Because obviously the email scandal, probably a little sketch, and Benghazi was things, the investigations probably point to where not a whole lot could have been done by Clinton. But I would say that to an uninformed voter, it's probably important, significantly more important, to look at the issues of a candidate before you judge based off of just like Donald Trump's an outsider or Hillary Clinton caused Benghazi. That's what I'd tell them.
I'd tell an uninformed voter about the election that Gary Johnson is not the most well-known throughout debates. He wasn't there at debates, but you shouldn't be stuck with just the two Republicans or Democrats. You should be keeping all your options open. So if you don't find a policy towards Hillary or Trump that you support, then you can always find Gary Johnson.
I would tell an uninformed voter that, first of all, Hillary Clinton should be in prison. And that saying things and doing things are completely different regarding to the Trump tapes. Hillary claims to have spent her whole life getting children health care and protecting children, but a child, an unborn child, does not count. No.
I think Clinton's most effective policies would be on about energy policy and climate change. By the end of her presidency, it was either 10 years or the end of an 8-year term, there would be 500 million solar panels in the United States, and the goal would be for every home to be powered by renewable energy, which I think there's a significant number of scientists that say that's probably not enough to curb global warming and climate change to the point that it needs to be curbed. But I mean, it's certainly better than like a Donald Trump presidency where there isn't going to be renewable energy policy that's going to target climate change. I think that's one, and I think that's probably the most important issue in the election. Secondly, I think is inequality in general, and I think that spills over to a broad range of different issues. So economic inequality, the way that she's going to ensure that people that make more money are paying more taxes, close tax loopholes so Donald Trump can't get away with going 20 years without paying a cent in taxes. She's going to close loopholes that allow Wall Street and bankers to spend consumers' money on risky investments to prevent things like 2008. She's going to reform whatever we instituted after the Glass-Steagall. I can't remember exactly what the legislation was. That's economic inequality. Racial inequality would be plans to help demilitarize the police. Investing in training programs for law enforcement is one of her big things. And I think those two issues, climate change and inequality, are probably the biggest issues that we face as a nation, and I think Hillary Clinton's plans are exceptional in addressing both of them.
He's going to do 3 things. First thing he's going to do, he's going to build the wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. Second thing, we're going to start making good trade deals, and we're going to start winning again. And third thing, we're going to take care of our vets.
As mentioned before, I think the most effective policy of Gary Johnson is going to be getting more jobs in America and improving the overall economy. Once we reduce this military spending, we can have more money to allocate to different sectors, such as the manufacturing and technology, and to further increase the amount of jobs that we're going to be getting in this area, and to attract foreign businesses into America, to overall increase the investments.
The last thing I'd add about Hillary Clinton is that I think this election particularly is probably the most consequential election that the United States has faced in, I mean, decades, potentially since like the late 1800s when it was like, and civil rights and everything. I think this is one of the most consequential elections. So when it comes to taking a look at Hillary Clinton and whether or not she's somebody that you would vote for, I think it's much more important to look deeper down, and I mentioned this earlier, looking past the, oh, it's her fault that Benghazi happened and the email scandal happened. I think policy needs to be focused on, and comparisons between the candidates need to be focused on, because the consequences are immense for disadvantaged populations, depending on which candidate gets elected for president?
Gary Johnson's an overall great guy. He never shown any hostility towards any of the other candidates, such as with Trump attacking Hillary and vice versa. There's been no open aggressiveness. And so, just the overall best option.
Make America great again.